Welcome to the webinar, friends. Today we'll be talking about the upside of enterprise information archival. Normally we discuss more or less always the risk, right? But today we'll look at the other side of the spectrum. Thank you very much for taking time to join this webinar. Really appreciate your time. Let's see if we can make this worthwhile, right? Some reminders, please ask questions as we go via the question panel. Do rate us and take the surveys at the end, and we'll be sending you webinar snippets, so you need not really write notes. So we'll do a quick recap of covering the downside. That is, how do we mitigate risk, cost, and complexity via information archival? This is all data related discussion. So let's look at the context. Where does data fit in? What is it that stakeholders need? What is this demand for data, which is creating such a lot of discussion and such a lot of, if you go around and look around on the internet, you will find massive discussions around data, data management, data protection, data fabric, data analysis. So there is a demand for data. So we'll just zoom out and zoom in a little and see what the stakeholders are needing. And why? So data is required to collaborate on legal incidents, compliance issues, incident management, other incidents, operational incident. So there is a requirement of access to historical information at any point in time. This can happen any point. So there's a need for collaboration. The second is there is a need to supervise, you know, operations, processes. So the supervision and audit of the entire business process and requires information. So, and this should be accessible quickly, easily, right? So the need to collaborate with other stakeholders and the need to supervise information, processes and information during audits. To manage the customer experience, here let me give an example to you. We have a payment gateway customer, right, who uses the information archive very beautifully to manage the uh, customer support, right? So they what they do is whenever there is a transaction happening on their payment gateway, they send out alerts to the customer. These alerts go on email and other maybe other channels as well, but these alerts are archived instantly in our solution, and the customer support team is continuously looking at the archive and handling the customer tickets. So when a customer faces a challenge with the payment gateway, they may call in the customer support, and these are hot calls because you're in the middle of a transaction and you need a support right away. So the customer support team will reference the archive and provide the visibility into what may have happened, which was what was the historical transaction, was there any steps taken. So all this experience improvement is also one of the ways. There are other things as well. A service, instead of just service breakdowns, you could look at growing relationships with customers. Critical information support. This is required, uh, similar to the first one, collaboration, right? You need the support for managing the critical processes and knowledge management. This is L&D. So I can use my archive as a repository to reuse information. It's big. Reuse is big. We've seen marketing companies, they thrive on the older campaigns and build on those. The uptake is much quicker. The new campaigns start off better, and you also learn which campaigns worked, which didn't, why they worked, why they didn't. So how can I make it better? So that is all. These are five. There may be more, but we are only talking about the key reasons why there's a demand for data, right? What stakeholders need. Now, as far as data is concerned, there is a demand, all good, right? But there are problems which hinder access to this data. And what are those problems? We've broken it down into 6 global scale problems, which can create a friction in serving the demand which we spoke about earlier, right? First is accidental or intentional deletion can lead to permanent loss of data. This creates business disruption. It can also cause a business to shut down, right? Serious problem. Ransomware, not much spoken about, but very serious threat to businesses and data. Non-compliance. These are pertaining to organizations who cannot keep up with the compliance requirements of regulators or laws, right? If you go to any of the regulated entities, check their compliance requirements or the regulations which have to drive their data governance. It's huge. The list is huge, right? And it has to be done on an ongoing basis. Literally, you need to have a compliance team to do this, right? But still, because of the complexity of the regulations and because the businesses have so much other things to do, they end up paying fines heavily. So this is a big problem to be solved. Which this hinders the easy access to data or the easy way to serve the demand. Too much time spent looking for information. As per McKinsey, this is a McKinsey stat. 9.3 hours you can consider one-fourth of your week is lost just looking for information. Data loss. When employees leave, they tend to delete data and go is the statistic. This is research done by Osterman, and they identified 70% CIOs fear information loss from exiting employees. Right? Higher cost. There is a cost of excess provisioning, premium plans, extra storage to manage this growing data. Right? So let's keep recapping, right? So we identified there is that organizations have a demand for data. Now, this demand cannot be fulfilled because of these 6 global scale problems. When I say global scale, they are not just India specific, these are worldwide, right? And these problems create that hindrance to serve the demand, right? Why? First, next question to ask is, why do these 6 problems exist at all, right? Now, if you look at it, there are multiple data sources which an organization is dealing with, right? It's data sources, data types. You get data from your workplace productivity platform, CRM, HRMS, you name it, right? Hundreds. And if you distill that down, you will get multiple data types, right? And these combination of sources and types is very complex to deal with, right? So you cannot be, whenever you get a demand for data, imagine going looking in hundreds of tools to locate this information and find it for the stakeholder. It's a very challenging task, right? Why is that? First is this fragmentation. All these systems on the left can account for maybe 100 plus data sources which are fragmented, right? So just a second. Now, searching across fragmented data sources, accounts, and platforms is a huge challenge. It's also time consuming. And we spoke about 25% wasted on search, 25% on the work week. Variations, data types, data sources together create huge amount of variety. The variations of data which come, the type of data which comes, the velocity of the data, all these are too many variables to deal with, right? And mostly if you see you're dealing with unstructured data in the context of the demands which we saw, right? So variations is creating another challenge. Data is not easily accessible, which means that maybe it's deleted. Maybe the new employee who took a handover doesn't have the old data. Lot of challenges there. So we have seen customers, they talk about when they get an audit request, they are hunting here and there, trying to figure out, first of all, where the data is. Only then can they pull it out. So these problems which we just discussed are existing because of these lower level IT related causes, right? Data fragmentation is maybe a architectural issue, right? Variations, nothing can be done about it. Data variations are bound to be there. Data accessibility is missing, right? Privacy and integrity risk. Now, imagine so many data sources, so many data types, so many solutions. How do you maintain control and integrity on this information without breaking a privacy issue? So you have to give access to the teams, right? And they will get access to look at this information. And of course, cyber attacks, accidents, right? This is one big reason why these problems exist. It's not an internal thing. Internally, we have to be able to mitigate this risk, but externally, you're being hit by these on a regular and ongoing basis. Okay. So, what's the way out? So, if you look at these recommendations by these various experts from different, segments, like the regulator, a consultant, okay, educational institute, you know, or a certifying body like certain, right? These agencies have put together a set of recommendations. They have not said it in this way. We have distilled it into the 5 recommendations, which will help you solve that problem, those problems, and be able to serve the demand for data, right? So there is a demand. We saw why there is a demand. We saw what stops the demand from getting fulfilled. We saw why that is the case, and now what do we do about it? This is the section where we discuss what is to be done about it, right? Guys, this is a recap. I'm coming to the content of the webinar, but this is the build up in the context to that, right? Just give me a second. I'll just take a sip of water. So the first recommendation by these guys, okay, if you just distill out whatever they're saying into the 5 framework is, they first of all they're saying keep a copy of your data. Simple. You might have any number of tools, you might be doing all work on all kinds of platforms. Keep a copy of the data, number one, okay, with access control, etc. Number two, keep it in a safe, reliable place. Don't keep it at home. Don't keep it in a server, which it doesn't have enough redundancy. So they're talking about residency, uh, resilience, right? Residency, resilience, as well as the ability to, be able to recover their information in case of an issue. So keep the information, keep it safe and secure, right? Make it scalable because your business will grow. Data itself will grow. Even if your business does not grow and it operates at the same level, you have to keep this data for a set number of years. To be able to do that, your data will keep growing. The archiving system where you're keeping all this information better scale with your need. So keep a copy, keep it safe, secure, make sure it's scalable, make sure you can do supervision and compliance level management, right? Which means retention, governance, disposal, right? Global queries, all of this should be possible. Only then you can serve that demand. So what these experts are saying is keep a copy in one place, and now you can do a lot of work there, right? And in a enable discovery, so you can just serve audit requests or investigations with a simple single pane of glass. And this is the recommendation to solve those problems. So what's the solution? This is a recommendation, right? They're saying do it, but how are you going to do it? So what we propose is you take this information from all these different data sources, put it in one centralized information repository. Okay, a lot happens in that orange box, but you keep the data there, give you and access dashboards and apps to manage this information and enable your use cases, right? So a central archive is what we believe will help you uh, adhere to these recommendations of these experts. right? So this is a recap so far. We've covered this in other webinars, but it is important to put this foundation before we get on to the uh, upside. Now, what we have covered so far is that there is a demand for data to cover risk and grab opportunities. So as a business, our job, our role, we exist to capture market opportunities, be agile, use information in our archives to figure out where to go next, right? Forecasting, blah, blah, blah. So there is a demand for both risk mitigation and upside. But there are challenges which we just saw, right? The problems, how to solve the problem, the expert recommendations, and the centralized archiving solution. Right. So this is what we are saying is the way out. Now, if we just before we get into the upside, I wanted to share a few stories with you, right? The stories which I'm going to share with you are real world stories. They are actually stories about how organizations have faced downside and have maybe come out of it or not come out of it. It depends, right? Let's see the stories. This is a real story of one of our customers before they became a customer for our solution Vaultastic is when the CEO deleted one of few mails from the inbox, maybe doing some cleanup, maybe doing some movement, reorganization. It's an ongoing process, and everybody does it. But it was deleted accidentally, and they was not able to recover it, right? And this was a big uh, embarrassment for the IT team, right? Because they could not recover it, and it was not even available in the recycle bin. They have gone ahead and deployed our solution to make sure that all the data in their Microsoft 365 is backed up. Second, intentional deletion. This man was malicious. He deleted information and left the organization. They recovered it, no doubt. They're processing this person legally, but there was a loss because of the time lost because of all those machines which were deleted. They lost almost, you know, uh, what thousand can say a million US dollars, Singapore dollars in this event, right? This another thing is this is an ongoing. This is data of 23, 24, 25. It's the same thing, right? So banks file suits, people have to respond. So agencies are suggesting that you keep your records accurately because you never know when any of these banks or any of the regulators may file a case against you to recover certain things or recover information, right? Ransomware. This is a financial service slide which talks about that they, 64% of financial services are hit by ransomware. Okay, in these banks are the most hit, right? So when ransomware hits, data is trapped. If you can't recover from another source, you lose money. Each incident can cost up to 100,000 US dollars is the estimate, which is about a crore of rupees. So we want to be careful there, right? Non-compliance is, I spoke about it in the problem slide. This is real example. In March, 15 banks were slapped for with a penalty. You can see news about this, right? So this is happening. SharePoint was there was a vulnerability discovered recently. This is a July news, right? Uh, and it there was updates and all sent out, no doubt. And this is targeting the on-premise SharePoint. It can happen with the cloud one too. So you want to be careful by keeping a copy. So advisory agencies recommend implementing fallback. So you know that if something is targeted and something is deleted, I can at least get it back, right? The Nayara story, everybody knows. I need not dwell on it. The system was locked out for whatever reason, political, financial, doesn't matter. The point is, as an organization, they suffered downtime and with a lot of stress, right? But a backup would have at least given them may not have enabled the services, but they would have not felt that choking that yes, my data is not with me, right? So with this background, with this recap, right? we will move into the understanding of what is the upside of an EIA, right? EIA is nothing but an enterprise information archive. It's not just always risk mitigation, cost optimization, complexity reduction, not always. There is a benefit, there are benefits beyond that, and that is what we call the upside. And it is surprising because it doesn't occur to us. But I have got some real stories for you here also, which kind of explain how businesses have benefited from the upside. I'll just give a few seconds pause. If there are any questions that the audience has related to what I've spoken so far, you may put your questions on the question panel. I'll answer them when we come to the Q&A part. Just take a few seconds pause while you do that, so that you don't have to carry the remember the questions. Write it down. Right. Hope you've written the questions. Okay, we'll move ahead. First, this is a story close to our home. They are our customer. It's a bank, right? They were sued. Now, this is upside, okay? Because they won the case. It was nothing to do with as much, I would say, data loss and stuff, right? They kept the archive and they were sued by a customer, a retail customer, something related to money maturity and all in some scheme, which they were not informed, they say, and they lost money. However, in the court of law, our bank was able to pull out this notification, prove that it was sent, and on what date, etc. And they won the case. So the bank is very happy with us. We are very happy for them. But this is a tremendous story of upside, right? You can massively save on such situations. Yes, in a way it's a risk, but somehow I felt it should be put in the upside section. This is Indiana Office of Technology, Government IT USA, right? These people, they had 90 TB of legacy email archives in an on-premise setup, NAS, SAN, whatever, right? They moved it to the cloud and they saved more than $500,000 annually in licensing, storage, and backup. So keeping things on premise is not always cheaper, right? They require maintenance, they require disaster recovery, they require teams to monitor security, physical security, right? All those things are huge problems. Now, $500,000 is a huge amount of money to just save, right? So retiring legacy archives is a great way to get upside. You can cut costs and simplify compliance in a huge way, right? So this is like completely reduce the complexity and take all that away and give me a searchable archive on the cloud. APAC conglomerate, right? This is a multi-region body, right? These people had multiple legacy email archives, close to 300 TB across regions, creating high cost and inconsistent retention. It's a conglomerate, right? So the this huge, and they need to keep, you cannot just throw it all away. But what they did was they centralized this into a centralized cloud archive, right? So what did it do? TCO is down. I don't have to maintain so many legacy systems. Single place, TCO down. Licensing simplified. DC closures, because the data, such a lot of data is kept in internal data centers. Faster access to historical data, and totally simplified. Okay, so reduced complexity. This is another real story of massive savings. I mean, the saving is not articulated here, but you can do your math, right? The cost of DC, the licensing, the overall TCO reduction, in my estimate, would be easily 30 to 40% or more. This is a global food company, Hero Group, right? And this is not the same as the Hero Corp of India. This is a food company, right? They were having a Microsoft 365 tenant bloat, which means mailboxes and Teams files were growing rapidly. Too many discussions, too many email flows, too many CCs, BCCs, and all those kind of things, right? So what they did was they automated the archiving for these uh, data sources and kept the retention. So they reduced the tenant size, but they kept the historical data offsite. So about 5 TB has been archived so far, and they're on the way to archive another 10 TB in this year, right? They've saved 12 hours per week of IT effort. So archiving improves that productivity and user experience. So the bloat can cause all kinds of issues, right? The upside is by archiving, the tenant has become lighter, and now the normal work is much better, and the IT effort is saved on trying to manage this bloat, right? This is an energy company, it's a regulated sector, can't take the name, right? They had on-premise SharePoint farms. These had to, they have to keep it for compliance for long periods. Okay, a 15 TB to manage the SharePoint farm was a big challenge, right? It was bloating and it was an on-prem, so we have to make sure backups, etc., security, everything has to be done. They just moved it to the cloud with indexing, right? The SharePoints are decommissioned. The searches are much faster. Storage costs are much lower, right? Plus the cloud is giving them the option on the cloud. They have the option to tier the data. So archiving makes the audits painless and reduces storage overhead in this scenario, right? So this is an upside, massive upside, right? This is a growth capital investment firm in India, like a mutual fund organization, right? We've used a Shutterstock image because some names cannot be taken, right? But they had, because of the way they were acquiring and growing, they had disparate email systems, right? Uh, so maybe one Google Workspace, one Zimra, one Microsoft 365, right? So they centralized that into Office 365 with an add-on email archiving solution. So it centralized the retention, simplified compliance with a predictable cost structure. So this is a very, the benefit to the Indian finance players from this is that they're having a powerful compliance posture early on, because India, the compliance is getting more and more strict. Like when we look at the financial service organizations, they're terrified of RBI, SEBI, and RDA, right? Because those people are bearing down, saying, "Show me this, show me that, show me that you how you stored your data, uh, search and give me this information of so and so period." So these kind of queries are not so easy to answer, right? But this is another upside story, how they were able to bring everything together in one and simplify the compliance posture itself, right? This is a Ocean Network Express. It's a shipping firm or a logistics firm, right? They're very highly regulated. They needed 7-year retention across Google Workspace. So they did a centralized archive for Google Workspace, right, which took Drive, chat, and email all in one with a unified discovery across the channels. This is what helped them uh, keep the data for 7 years and the ability to search. So it just elevated their entire posture again. So if you look at the last two, these and the last story, it's about a simple add-on which takes them to another level. Right? Without it, they're okay. They're managing the risk, blah blah blah. But they were not getting that upside unless they did this simple add-on. Right? This is a real story, ONE. Right? So what happens if you look at it? If you look at so far, what we've seen is the all the stories and the recommendations are talking about a centralization of the data. They are saying that bring it together. Don't let it remain fragmented. Put it together in one place and then see what happens. Right. So imagine which I showed you the image, right? Data sources, data types, central archive, tools to search, manage, use cases. So there's an upside from centralization, and it is not something you can just overlook, right? It delivers 3 E's. First is the ensure, which means you now know everything is in one place. There's a single source of truth. The easy way to look at it is I look in the archive, which is tamper-proof and immutable, I know that whatever data I find there is the final thing. It has not been touched, it has not been tampered with. Even if the user does some malice on the primary platform, the archive carries a single source of truth. This is extremely important point, that you are ensured that the data in the archive is absolutely hygienic. It gleams, it's polished, it's the truth, right? So the first E. The second is it enables, because you centralize archive, it enable L&D, professional services, inputs to improvement. Imagine I can go and search in the archive and find out what the challenges people are facing and drive those into improvements, right? To enhance customer experience or the business posture and whatever, new initiatives, new markets. So it enables a lot of things if I'm able to access my historical data. It's a very, very powerful thing. And you're seeing these stories, that is what they are doing. This entire fragmented experience is being moved into a centralized single place where they can look for information. And so it ensures single source of truth. It enables L&D and initiatives, and it elevates the team efficiency. We saw 25% team time is lost in just searching. That's a huge loss, right? One fourth of a salary is gone in waste. Another way to look at it, a salary bill is gone in waste. So if I can elevate team efficiency with improved information availability, which means on demand people can find information, right? Ensure, enable, elevate. This is what centralization of data does to you, right? What do we get as a result? Improvement in operational efficiency, growth in business opportunities. This is all actual data which has been, if you look at the research, it will tell you that if you centralize data accessibility, you can tap 57% more opportunities, right? Organizational productivity increases 10 to 20, 40%. It's even more than the waste. If 25% is the waste, you can drive up 40%. You can go from 100 to 140, right? If you just centralize the information, you can collaborate better with stakeholders. The customer experience will be better, retention will be better, word of mouth will be increased. So just think about it. One change and so many upsides, right? And your decision making obviously gets better. We saw about that enable. So if I can go into the archive and look what is causing so many issues, or what is it that customers are asking for, which I can build into the product, they'll get more satisfied and they will speak about it positively. So all these benefits and more maybe come out of a centralized archive which is accessible through a single pane of glass, right? Where does Vaultastic fit in? We deliver this. Whatever we spoke about, we can fit that piece of a central archive, right? How? It's a cross-platform archive and it is modern. What does it mean? Right? First, it is centralized, which means that we have the capability to take data from different data sources of different data types and put it together in one. This is what we do. A centralized, unified information and data archive. This is the first and foremost thing. By centralizing, you make it easy to access, discover, govern, etc. And the cost reduces big time. Support maintenance by 45%, administrative by 60%, legal risk by 62%. How does that happen? We discussed that, right? But in a quick recap is the time spent on managing different backups, different archives versus managing one. That to a SaaS where you don't have to do anything. So that reduces the cost, right? Legal risk by 62% because there is never a risk of not finding information. So these are the reasons how a centralized archive works, and Vaultastic specializes in that. We have designed it to be solve these problems, right? Second, it cross-platform. What it means is it can take in data from different data sources in one, right? And make it searchable. This is a very critical big thing to learn from here is if I can, my hundreds of SaaS tools, on-premise tools, which I'm using to run my business operations, if I can centralize the data from those in one, in a unified archive like we provide, you can then do a lot of things, right? And the third most important thing is the whole archive should be modern. What we mean by modern is you should be able to find information quick. You should be able to optimize cost even though the storage grows. It should be zero maintenance. I'm just giving you a few points. Data should be portable. Automation should be very heavy, right? So I should be able to find one file or one email of 10 years ago, which was sent by one employee to another or to an external organization with a particular subject and one attachment of this type. Imagine being able to do that from a single pane of glass. That is what we mean by modern. It's elastic, it's agile, right? Now, what we've done is we've looked at this hierarchy. Data management needs a hierarchy. The most foundational thing is cover risk. If the risk is covered, I can do more things. If the risk is not covered, I can do nothing, right? So the most foundational use of Vaultastic is covering risk, complexity, and cost. We cover all of these, and we can see we have documented 3 case studies of an urban bank or a manufacturing company or a financial service firm, how they have benefited from this foundational value from Vaultastic. Once risk is covered, you can then think about operational efficiency, which means that, okay, my data is all safe. Now, can I improve my compliance? Can I return audit queries much faster, maybe in a day instead of a month, and things like that. So you cover risk, you gain operational efficiency, and then you can think about intelligence. Here is where the AI layer comes, which is something we are working on very aggressively, right? I have this whole archive. I have such a lot of data. What do I make sense out of? How do I make it talk to me and tell me that this archive and has got this? Okay, my emails are carrying this information. My sentiment of the users is not so great. Anything. So I can build organizational intelligence from my historical data. Imagine a dashboard like this, all right? And that's what we're talking about, which you can happen with our solution, right? We are currently deployed in over 400 enterprise customers, mid to large size, across 18 countries, right? Some logos you can see. These cover BFSI, manufacturing, professional services, IT. IT is a big sector for us, right? Mainly because they are answerable to their customers. We're highly rated on Peer Insights and Capterra. We are powered by AWS, which means we are cloud native on AWS, which is one of the best clouds on the planet today, right? We are reviewed by AWS. We get that logo, ISO 27000 certified, SOC compliant, right? So the solution is standard, it's well tested, right? And it delivers on the downside, covering the downside and delivering a surprising upside. So it's a very flexible solution. Do try it out, right? Thank you. This is where the webinar ends. Are we on time? Yes, we are on time, right? We will shift to the Q&A. We should see what questions people have asked. Just opening the question panel. Just a second. Right. Nothing so far. If there are any questions, audience, go ahead and ask. I think somebody is asking about the pricing model for the solution, right? So our pricing model is not has nothing to do with number of users. We price it on cumulative resource consumption. That is storage and the use of resource. Number of users doesn't matter because we know that user consumption varies, and it is not a very fair thing to charge based on per user because that creates that uh, disparity. So it's a fair thing. And because of that and other cost optimization strategies, our cost savings would be anywhere from 60% and above, right? Okay, next question I think is how secure is this? Because you will be keeping our data with you. So one way to look at it is our marquee customers, right? We have customers in all sectors. You can always speak to them. And these customers have been with us for 6, 8 years plus, right? The other thing is the security framework. I mean, one way to answer it is talk to my customers. Another way to answer this question is what do we do, right? So there is a very elaborate shared security model we follow with AWS, which means AWS gives us the security off the cloud and we provide the security in the cloud, which means that keeping the data safe, keeping the resources safe is our responsibility after the AWS has made sure the data center, etc., is safe, right? They have their own compliances which they follow and they are published. What we do is we have a 7-layer framework to secure your data, which covers encryption, encrypted address and in transit, access control, uh, WAFs, and all kinds of things, right? Many things, more than 150 controls are there. Once this is deployed and your data is kept inside, it's safe. It's safe from all attacks. And there are then in that there are layers, right? The active layer is more frequently used, but as data becomes infrequently used, it goes down into the deeper layers, which are not so easily accessible, and hence they maintain that security to a larger extent. So now all this is our design, but we have got this certified using ISO. So we are an ISO 27001 company, and our processes are SOC compliant. AWS also verifies all this using the FTR. So security-wise, we are good. The data kept is safe, and we are managing almost a petabyte of data across all our customers today. Right. Other questions, team? Feel free. Okay, the question is when you say compliance, what exactly do you mean? So, what it means is you are an organization which is regulated, okay? Bank, energy company, right? Pharma manufacturing company. Because you're working in that space where citizens can get impacted if you don't do a good job, you have a regulator. This is just the basics, right? Regulator has requirements. Regulator says if you want to run your business, you have to do it like this. Now if you look at the data part of this, the data related guidelines from them are as intense, right? You're keeping customer data, you're creating data which will impact customer trust and customer, you know, information, right? This has to be maintained, and because the litigations can be very expensive, the regulator expects you to maintain the data in a certain way, and this is given by them in the form of regulation guidelines, right? And they're big. You can look it up. We've done a lot of research on these, but these run into pages. So the regulator requires you to keep data in a specific way, and you have to comply with that. That is what, if you see the non-compliance penalties, it's all about you're not able to keep up with the regulatory demands. They're asking for A, B, C, D, E, but you are able to do A, B. So C, D, E becomes a penalty, right? So when we say compliance, what we are saying is the data related guidelines prescribed by the regulator is something we can help you with. By keeping data on Vaultastic, you tick mark on all the regulatory guidelines. Oh, it's encrypted? Yes. It is within India? Yes. Does it have access control? Yes. Is there a safe disposal? Yes. Yes to everything. This is what we mean when we say we support your compliance posture. I hope I've answered your question. You can cross question me if you feel the need to clarify further. Yes, yes, team. It's just pre-lunch. Let's have some questions. I'll just have a sip of water while waiting for your questions. Next questions. Okay, I don't think there is any more coming. We'll wait another few seconds. Okay, somebody's asked, can we get a detailed demo? Actually, I would have liked to give you a demo in this, but there's not enough time. Just if you would like a demo, you can reach out to us on that email ID which you see in the thank you page. We would be happy to set that up for you. Or you can go to our website and schedule a meeting with us. There's a calendar there. Pick out a convenient time and our team will be very happy to engage with you. Right? You can even go in for a free trial. But I would suggest you go for a demo first so our team can talk to you, understand your requirements, propose a solution, then you try it out. I think that sequence will work better. But yes, we are open to this. Please, even a deep dive session is perfect. We are happy to do that. If anybody needs any more information, we can send it also. We have videos, we have documents which we can share with you. So do write to us or you can put a comments here. We can engage on that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'll take your leave. I would want to thank you for taking the time to be here. It's valuable time. I know time is currency, right, for you, so for everybody in fact. So I've deepest appreciations for that. I hope this was valuable to you. You got some takeaway from this, right? I would happy to listen to from you. You can write to this email ID. That mail will be directed to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and we can have a discussion. I'm perfectly open to discussing further, right? So thank you. You've been a wonderful audience. You've asked some very relevant questions. And we will see you next month. We have these webinars every month, these kind of webinars where we share insights, we talk about strategies, we talk about ideas which you can benefit from. You don't have to buy Vaultastic. The whole idea is to make your learning one notch higher. And that is what I attempted to do today. I hope I was successful. Right? If you can take a survey at the end, it will be wonderful. What you felt about the session. It will just take you less than 30 seconds. And then you can go and have your lunch, like I will do right now. Right? Thank you again. Have a good day. Be safe wherever you are. Bye bye.